Good morning. I'm very, very, very excited to be here this morning. I always enjoy coming, sharing, being in the will of God. It's very much a joy. Let me start, though, with First Chronicles 29:15. It says, "For we are strangers before you, and sojourners, as our fathers were in the days when they were on the earth. And we're like a shadow, and there is no hope or expectation of remaining." We're not building on staying here. We realize we're passing through. All my life, I tried to fit into molds. I tried to, be part of whatever was around me, and the music so influenced me, the movies so influenced me, my friends so influenced me, everything about it. It just drew you more and more and more into the things around you. In Greek mythology, there are sirens they talk about. And the sirens, they literally, they're demons, and they sit on the shore and they beckon the sailors to come toward them because they want them to crash on the rocks. Well, that's no different than it is today. The same issue is happening, but the sirens you hear are on the radio or in the movies or, are all about you. They're crying out there. They're singing their songs. They're doing they're doing what they do. And all they want you to do, and the devil wants you to do, is to crash into the rocks. You have to realize that the thief, Satan, comes only in order to steal, kill, and destroy. That's John 10:10. And that's something I really finally in my life understood, because most of my life I did not understand it at all. So, it's not just the worldly music. The contemporary Christian music is just as bad. And you ask, well, why would I say that? I would say it's simply because they're following the same tendencies. They're in the same sway, as it says in Ephesians 2, of the world. They're doing the very same things that the world is doing. You can look at your own life. I've looked at mine and seen how those demons, those sirens, those singers, those movies have influenced me and seduced me to crash my life into the rocks and destroy me. You see, the devil, he wants to steal our inheritance. He wants to take the very gift of God from us that he has given to us. God tries to draw us into him. He tries to bring us into, his ways of doing things, his love. And he just brings that love around us and tries to bring us in. But the whole time, the devil's there beckoning us. Come this way. Come this way. Don't walk that narrow path. Come this way. Get over here. Get over there. Listen to what I'm saying. And in my life, when I was a teenager, I listened. I listened to most everything, sadly. I remember when I was young, and I grew up in the 50s and 60s. I actually was born in the 40s and grew up in the 50s and 60s. But I remember being impressed by different things, and back in those days, some of you might not even know who these names are, and it's okay because you have your own names right now that you can plug into these same spots, But I remember Marlon Brando and his motorcycle. I remember Jimmy Dean and his car, and I remember also, they were the first people to wear blue jeans. Blue jeans prior to that point in time, it was nothing but farmers wore and workers in factories wore. In fact, it would have been a little embarrassed to wear blue jeans almost back then. You would have been looked like as and thought of a hick, or you thought of somebody that, was not, in with everything. Nowadays, blue jeans has become the acceptable badge, of saying I'm part of this culture. As they wear the jeans with holes or halfway down their backsides, it's become something that's establishes, hey, he's one of them. I'm part of this. And that's what was so much part of my life. I realized it was just pulling me in. Just like those sirens calling those sailors into those rocks. It was just pulling and saying, come this way. There was also, Elvis was back in that period of time as well with his gyrations and his duck back tail, hair and all wet back and part. And you watched everybody conform to it. You watched them. The music was so enticing. Just keep remembering, it's just so enticing, bringing people in. And that's what the devil's doing. I mean, he's dead and then, but he's doing it now. It's no different. And the 60s showed up. And when the 60s showed up, obviously the Beatles were there. And they had their hairdos. They had their Nehru jackets that didn't have any collars, or their Nehru shirts. And obviously they had Beatle boots. And you think, well, all they were trying to do, everything that the devil did tried to make you different or stand out or be not part of norm. He wanted you to be over here. He wanted you to be part of this because he constantly was separating you. He was constantly bringing you as the music played, as the movies were there, as your friends and everybody started to just jump in and be part of all this. That's what the devil wanted. He wanted to pull you away. He wanted to pull you away from God, who was trying to bring you in to eternal life. Those two major, rebellious guys, they were all part of the start of that whole rock and roll generation. And it really shows how jeans became such a mark. It's a sad thing. It became such a mark, in society today. The 60s also brought us, this is a part that, that I watch in my own life. The 60s brought us a whole lot of game playing, mind games and things. And there were the Abby Hoffmans and the Jerry Rubins, along with the Students for Democratic Society, groups like the Weathermen, promoting their anarchist stand against the government and the war in Vietnam. And you know what? All of it was supported with music. All the music groups beckoned it. They all were the sirens. They talked about it. All these things influenced my youth. I remember my teen years hearing all that anti-war music, like Blowing in the Wind, The Eve of Destruction, Ohio, which was nothing more than an anthem for students that were killed at Kent State, and Give Peace a Chance. It affected me. I mean, it so affected me. I remember I was sitting, I actually went to New York City. I was standing there with my friend. We went into downtown. I was visiting friends on Staten Island. I went downtown with my friend. And we went to Central Park. And when we went to Central Park, Coretta King was having a rally. And that rally, there was 100,000 people there. So me and my friend naively went and said, hey, let's go just be part of that. That whole system that the devil has, he slowly pulls you in and pulls you in. And the music is always the thing that sucks you in and brings you in. We were standing there, and 100,000 people. All of a sudden, the cry went out. Let's march to Columbia. Let's go free the students in Columbia. You see, there was a bunch of students that blocked themselves in Colombia, and they were protesting the war. Look, I was on my way into the war. 2 weeks later, I was due to go to boot camp and likely on to Vietnam. And I'm sitting there, and what do? I start marching with them to Colombia. I didn't get very far. I got out in the street. And when I hit the street, the next thing I knew, I was thrown in a paddy wagon and taken downtown. All of it is to make you crash into the rocks. That's the devil's plan. He wants to destroy you, in doing so. The interesting thing is my friend that was with me, he was a lawyer. He ended up being one of Nassau's top lawyers. But this event almost stole that from him because they almost didn't let him be a lawyer because he was involved in this whole situation. But what are you listening to? What movies, what are they saying to you at this point in time? What are the songs saying? I gave you my songs, but the songs that are out there today are just as bad. I mean, they're preaching the wokeism. They're out there telling you all these things and be this, be that, be those. And sadly, the music is such that it pulls you in. You like it. You think, hey, I like that song. You don't realize the whole time that you're liking the song that the philosophies are going in you and in you and in you and in you. And then you, like me, end up standing in front of 100,000 people and then for no reason say, hey, I'm going to march to Colombia too. I'm going to be part of something I don't even believe in. And that's what happens. The devil pulls you in. I know I saw this movie when I was young as well. And the movie was called The Endless Summer. It was a surfer movie with beach music type things in it. I think the group that was in it was a beach type group. And then eventually the Beach Boys showed up and, all those types of things. And I remember the first time, I saw that movie and it put something in me. You got to hear something, people. You out there and you're putting yourself into circumstances. You go hear the movies. You go hear the songs. They're putting something in you. And it's not God. I watched that movie. And from that point on, and I lived in Pennsylvania. There's no waves in Pennsylvania, there's no surf and beach life in Pennsylvania. But I watched that movie, and from that point on, I always wanted to be. That's what I want. I wanted to be a surfer. I wanted to go around. It traveled the world. There was everywhere. It was an endless summer, and that's what I thought I wanted to be. And I remember the first time I ended up in Hawaii, and the first time I decided I was going to go out in the surf in Hawaii. And in the surf in Hawaii I was in was about 8 and 10 feet. And I went out in the surf. And you know what? I almost drowned. I mean, I couldn't get back to the beach. Me and a friend were there. We're out there trying to catch the waves with all these other guys who really knew how to do it. And the next thing we realized, it came time to get back to the beach. And you know what? I couldn't get back to the beach. The riptide was so great that I couldn't get back to the beach. I almost lost my life. And it says, the thief, Satan, comes only in order to steal, kill, and destroy. That's his plan for your life. He constantly puts these thoughts. He constantly brings the music before you. He constantly brings you into these movies. And the movies teach you and show you and act and bring you into more. For what? So that he can steal, kill, and destroy. So he can bring you up on the rocks and let you just crash your ship and your life. That's what he wants to do. He wants to steal the gift of God that's in you. He wants to terminate you. You know, you talk about the Beach Boys. There was a song that one of the Beach Boys wrote. The song was called In My Room. And it was written, you know, after he took LSD. And what he did was he went and locked himself in a room. And he tripped on LSD. I don't know how long he was there. I know it was a long time. But, you know, one of the main lyrics in the room in it was, in the room, dark and alone, sitting in the room. You know, I took many trips of LSD, you know, because it was one of the areas that devil pulled me into, through the music, through my friends, through the movies. I remember being in those rooms. You know, I remember taking LSD and going right to the point of insanity and thinking that I hope I can get back. I hope I can get back. Remember, the devil, the Satan, comes only in order to steal, kill, and destroy. I can't tell you how many times that happened almost to me. I mean, taking LSD, I don't even know how many I took. Hey, I know this. It about destroyed me over and over. It put me in circumstances. I remember driving down the highway. I was so out of it. All I could see is flashing white stripes from the car. I mean, and they literally, basically, I'm not from the car, from the road. It attacked me. The devil wanted to kill and destroy me. You know, he didn't. God had a plan. God had a plan that I would be here right now today explaining some of these things to you. I mean, I think about these things. When I was thinking about them the other night, I'm saying I need to share them. My whole insides would shake thinking about where I was and what I had went through. Then another movie, Easy Rider. I mean, again, you probably don't remember all these different things. Easy Rider, two guys going across America in their motorcycles. You know what? I had to go get a motorcycle. You know, again, the devil pulls you in, sucks you in. I remembered having that motorcycle. I had a Triumph. I took that bike out one of the times, and I hit a curve, and I slid all the way across the highway on my hands and arms, tore myself up. But you know what? It didn't matter, because the next night, I was out around. I owned the motorcycle when I lived in Hawaii. The next night I was on the cliffs of Hawaii, going through the S-turns, driving as fast as I could, bending over, almost touching my elbow. 1,000-foot drop on the other side in the ocean there. The thief comes in order to steal, kill, and destroy. You know what? He was trying to do that to me. He was trying to kill me. But God had a plan. The big question I have for you right now is the thief coming for you? Are you in the middle of all these same types of things? Are you listening to the music, and is the music telling you what to do? Are you watching the movies, and are you becoming the very thing that the movies were? You know, Mad Max movies came out in the 80s. And I saw the movies, and I thought, this is crazy. This is a whole thing. This punk apocalypse type situation. You know, it was a vision of the future when we watched this whole Mad Max thing. You know, it was, when you look around now, you think Mad Max movie is everywhere. It's all over the place. You know, all the tattoos, all the skinheads, all the mohawks, all the you know, the biker jackets, all the crazy automobiles, the jacked up cars, all the things. We became it. We became Mad Max. You know, it's there. You know, and the music that came with it, all the heavy metal and all the trash metal and all the things that were there, you know, they're just like it. You know, they emulated it. You know, they wore the same attire. They became the same very thing. Everybody looks like it. Now what do we have? We have the woke culture. You know, we have, and it's, the woke culture is everything. You can do anything and everything. You can be whatever you want to be, doing it. You have Taylor Swift and her Swifties, and she's out there dancing around, acting like a witch with the covet type singers going around her and, making witchcraft acceptable. That's the devil. He's putting those seeds in. And that's what he's doing to you. Is he coming for you? You need to start realizing he is coming for you. And there is no such thing as a good and a bad witch. They want to tell you that's what there is. No, witchcraft is evil. Witchcraft is the devil. And music is so much witchcraft. It beckons you to crash on those rocks. It beckons you to take your life and steal the gift of God. But Philippians 3:20 says, we are different. Amen. Because our citizenship is in heaven. And from there we eagerly await the coming of our Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. We're not looking for the jeans, the bleach washed or the torn or any type, the drugs, the cars, the mustaches, whatever it is, whatever mark it is that seems to want to be our banner. We're not looking for that. But the devil's trying to seduce us and take us into those places. Remember, we're trying to build, for the future, for what God has. We're not trying to build a hope or an expectation of remaining here. We're trying to build and allow God to take our lives and to get rid of all these things, to let him deliver us from all that we've taken in, from all that we became that was never us. He's trying to deliver us. He's trying to deliver you. He says we're a shadow. We're sojourners. We're just passing through. Listen, I have a mansion waiting for me in heaven. I'm not looking to build, forever here. I know God has made a place. It says, in my Father's house, John 14:2, there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you, for I'm going away to prepare a place for you. And you know what? I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that he's done that for me. When I sit back and I look where I've come from, and where I could have been now, I could be dead. And many of my friends would be dead, if God hadn't constantly intervened. I've come to a church here in North Carolina that basically saved my life and has saved many of my friends' lives. Because if I would have followed along and continued, the devil would have eventually taken and destroyed my life. But he didn't. God brought me to a place of deliverance. If you take the mark of culture, and you say, well, what does that mean? If you want to do the dress, if you want to have the hair, you want to have the tattoos, you want to look like Mad Max, or you want to look like the woke generation of today, you know what will probably happen? When the devil comes and he says, take this mark of the beast, you're going to take the mark of the beast. And I'm going to repeat it again. If you want to wear these marks, the likelihood is you will take the mark of the beast. Because that's what the devil's been doing, calling you. He's been the siren through all these things, drawing you in to crash on the rocks. And when you crash on the rocks, you'll take the mark and you'll give up God and you'll turn your back on God. You'll have no fear. You'll have no fear of who God is or what God will, or what will happen to you. You'll just have no fear because you become so taken away, so pushed over here, so so made in so many ways. Proverbs 1:7 says, the reverent and worshipful fear of the Lord is the beginning and principal choice of knowledge. It's the starting point, and it's the very essence. But fools despise skillful and godly wisdom, instruction, and discipline. You need to realize you've been a fool most of your life. You need to realize that you've been a fool, you've been following fools. You know, if you start really looking into the lives of some of these people, I've been around, born in the 40s, grew up in the 50s and 60s. I've seen the people. I've watched them destroy their lives. I watched the drugs come into their lives. I watched all the different things of these musicians that were so great and so wonderful, singing all these great songs. They're destroyed. The devil brought their ship to those rocks, and they crashed on the rocks. And you look at their lives now and you go, I don't want to be like that. Why would I have ever wanted to have been like that? I was a fool. I followed after them. I had no fear of God. I wanted what I wanted. I did what I wanted to do. I did whenever I wanted to do it. And now God has a different plan for my life. He says, you need, in Mark 13:35, and I'm going to try to sum it up in some of these next few scriptures. He says, therefore watch. After I said all these things, I'm saying watch, give strict attention, be cautious and alert, for you do not know when the master of the house is coming, in the evening, at midnight, or cock crowing, or in the morning. Today is the day of salvation. Today can be the day of your salvation. 2 Corinthians 6:2 says, for he says, in the time of favor, of an assured welcome, I've listened to and heeded your call. I listened and I heeded the call of God. I came out. He says, I have helped you on the day of deliverance, the day of salvation. He brought me out. He brought me deliverance. He can bring you deliverance. He says, behold, now is truly the time for a gracious welcome, an acceptance of you from God. God's calling you. The door's there. You need to open the door. He says he's knocking. You need to open that door. He says, welcome and acceptance of your God. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Today's your day. Today is your day of salvation. I remember the day when I just finally said, okay, God, I can't keep doing it my way. My way brings me to destruction. The thief has taught me that he's going to come steal it. He's going to come kill me. He's going to come destroy me. He's taught me I was a fool. I listened to people who didn't know God, had no knowledge of who God was, didn't want any part of God. They were sold out to the devil, and they wanted to take us and me and many others with us. They want to take you with them. You need to listen. Today is your day of salvation. It says in Matthew 7:24, so everyone who hears these words of mine and acts upon them, obeying them, will be like a sensible, prudent, practical, wise man who has built his house on the rock. And that rock is Jesus. And you need to build your house on Jesus. We need Jesus. You need Jesus. Thank you for being here today. You can come here every Sunday morning at 10:30, or you can go to our website at wordoffaithfellowship.org. You can hear hundreds of my friends testifying of their lives, testifying how they were fools also, and they listened and they allowed the devil to beckon them into a lifestyle that is not godly, and they should have never went. Behold, today is your day of salvation. Thank you.